So when we say American comics are dying, right? This is something that we talk about quite often, honestly. And when we talk about it, a lot of people try to prove otherwise. That oh no, it's not dying. It's just in a small decline right now, and American comics are going to make a comeback. Blah blah blah. No, they're not. They're really not, because the problem is that American comics are so busy doing nonsensical identity politics in their comic books that they have turned off every single superfan or normie that was really buying the comic books. Now they basically trying to cater to an extremely small audience, the likes of which cannot be supported on a grand scale, and then you end up having stores like this. For example, we have an article here from Bounding Into Comics. It says Los Angeles' oldest comic shops shut down, and they put blame on the Coof, Marvel, and DC. So I'm curious to read this because, again, this is in Los Angeles, right? One of the wokest places probably in the entire country. I wonder if these people were actually involved in partaking in like the shutdowns and advocating for them, or advocating for anything else that might have led to their own personal demise. So let's see what this article says from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, guys, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm. It says Los Angeles' oldest comic shops, Geoffrey's Comics and Idaho Comics, which both opened in 1977, are shutting down. In a post to Facebook, Geoffrey's Comics announced Geoffrey's Comics and Idaho Comics opened in 1977. That's really sad. We were both literally the first comic book stores in Los Angeles, but now sadly Geoffrey's and Idaho Comics must close their doors on December 31st of 2023. While the shops are shutting the doors down, the business is going to attempt to keep pull lists going for customers. The post explains, our pull service will continue on. Geoffrey and Idaho Comics would love to keep our most loyal customers and continue to offer our pull service as a delivery option. Geoffrey's Comics pull parties will be found at locations around the city. So props to them that they're at least trying to keep their business somewhat alive. It is obviously sad to see this stuff happen. You don't want to see anybody lose their business, but after a while, you got to start to wonder certain questions need answers, and that's what I'm trying to find here. It says the business adds, we are also reaching out to coffee houses to offer different times and days for you to stop by, pick up your comics, and hang out with you and your other fellow superfans. Even though Geoffrey's and Idaho must close their doors, they will live on in this new exciting form where we can all still gather and share our enjoyment together. Now, as for why the comic shop is shutting down, an image attached to the Facebook explains it wasn't one single thing that caused this closure, though the Coof was a major contributing factor. Geoffrey's Comics explained the shutdowns depleted our savings and grants, which strained us to the breaking point. A year prior to the pandemic, we signed a long-term lease to be the closer to the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, but the Coof left us unable to make the rent. Still, we soldiered on. We moved to a smaller location while eventually finding a subleasee for the location we were legally responsible for. Unfortunately, between payments owed from the pandemic to the loss of our subleasee, we are not in a position to pay our landlord what is now being demanded in full, the shop explained. Now, the sad thing is, you have a lot of people that advocated for the shutdowns. This is obvious. Without getting too political, it's obvious. People advocated for the shutdown. You know exactly who advocated for the shutdowns. And those same people that advocated for the shutdowns, a lot of them were in very privileged opportunities where they were either still working, right? Or they had retirement funds or money coming in that was guaranteed to them, or maybe they were wealthy, who knows? But they were basically okay, and they weren't really caring about people like this. People like this who had to be open in order to gain money to keep their business. People like this that needed that work in order to survive. They don't care about these people. So the funny thing is, where are these people that advocated for the shutdowns now? Where are they to save this comic book shop from closing down? Nowhere to be found. Obviously nowhere to be found. And then it doesn't help that the American comics are so trash now that nobody's buying them on a grand scale anymore. They are, aside from maybe first edition comic books, nobody's really buying American comic books like that. Like their sales, their unit numbers are down drastically. The only reason why the dollar amount is not down drastically is because they include graphic novels in that number now, and they also, everything has become more expensive. So obviously higher costs, higher prices, the dollar amount variation doesn't seem as extreme anymore. But if you look at the unit sales, it's a big difference. Then it says, as for Marvel and DC's role, the shop stated for the first 40 years, Diamond Comics was our single service supplier as they lost the rights to distribute Marvel and DC Comics, what had once become a streamlined process or doing one order and picking up from one location became multiple orders with multiple ways of delivery with multiple days of releases. The shop asserted the powerhouse that used to be New Comics Wednesday has ceased to be, and with it, a lot of spending habits of the customer base. base. The company also noted that costs for their tabletop business had also increased. A large part of our business, tabletop card gaming, has continued to grow more expensive to the retailer as companies seek to find new avenues to sell directly to the consumer or through online marketplaces and big box retailers. One of the most popular card games in the world now sells for less through Amazon than what we have to pay for getting it through our distributor, in addition to specialty product that was never made available to us through wholesale. The shop noted, simply put, this is an unstable situation for us, and we worry about the retailers that remain. Well, again, Amazon has killed off a lot of brick and mortar locations. This is not the first one to be, a victim of Amazon. Obviously, Amazon is such a major e-commerce. It's such a major online retailer that it's very difficult for a lot of mom and pop shops to survive simply because Amazon has access to things that they don't have access to. So with that being said, it is hard for them to maintain their business unless they have such a substantial following or a community following. It's very difficult. If people don't want to keep your business open, then your business is not going to stay open. Simply put, Amazon is going to swallow you whole, and that's just what's going to happen. It says the owner of the stores also indicated he's been suffering from some health issues as well. Geoffrey Patterson II said, I was diagnosed with nerve disorder that causes constant pain and migraines. I regularly lose vision in one eye, randomly vomit uncontrollably, suffer pinched nerves and cramps in my back, and even lose the ability to verbally articulate. I simply can't physically do all the work necessary to run a business in the 21st century. While that's pretty sad, it's unfortunate to hear. There's really not much that you can do about that. That's like an act of God at that point. And if that's affecting your business, then unfortunately you're either gonna have to find someone else to run it, which you can't at this point because you owe so much money because of these stupid liberals in California that have decided that it was great for you to shut down and not make any money. It's really sad to see what's happening, man, to these people who are kind of gaining the effects of what happened during the first couple of years that passed. Then he says, while all the aforementioned things contributed, I ultimately can only blame myself. I made mistakes. I ordered too much and kept hoping that these pre-coof numbers would return. Some days now don't even have a third of the revenue they did pre-coof. It is very hard to stay in business losing over 50% of our revenue. Well, do you really think that you lost over 50% of your revenue because of the coof? Because I guarantee you that is not the case. Guarantee you that's not the case. I guarantee that it has to do with the quality of the comic books. Nobody wants this shit anymore, man. So many people, including myself, even though I've been this way for a while, so many people have went to manga. So many people have went to anime. A lot, like Japanese manga and comic books and graphic novels, have been on such a ridiculous rise that a lot of my collection of manga has gone up in value simply because of what people are searching for. It's insane. You know what I mean? Like I've literally watched my stuff go up in value almost a week by week basis just because of how people really want manga now, and it's becoming harder and harder for these companies to keep up with the demand. So with that being said, yeah, American comics are probably the reason why this shop is experiencing 50% less revenue. It's not really about the coof, in my opinion. They may think it is, they may think it mostly is or partially is. I don't think it is at all. I think it's simply the state of the comic book industry as a whole, American comic books anyway, and people are just checked out. They're not really caring as much anymore, and you have some diehards. You have some people who want to be collectors, and maybe they want to go after the first issue and whatnot, and that's usually what sells. But ultimately, it's just not how it used to be, and I don't think it's ever going to go back to how it used to be. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.